Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Yamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Mr. Bhagavad Paramahamsa, Bhagavad-gita, Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki Jai. ISKCON BBT founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa, Bhagavad-gita, Ashtottara to the Sri Srimad Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavina ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai, Samaveda Bhaktivinoda ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glory to Sri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, give me a second here. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. On this 15th day of June 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Mukunda, can you back there? Somehow there's this great illusion that this curtain is a wall, but it's not. You have that back door open and everything comes through. All right, we'll wait till he comes back. Hi, Bo. Okay. Did I announce text 11, right? Yeah, okay. Text 11 of... See, now I lost my track. Did I say what chapter and verse we're on? You don't remember. Neither will I. And neither do you. This is Kali Yuga. All right. On this 15th day of June, 2020 in SanDiego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. We're reading chapter 14, the three modes of material nature. Text number 11 on page 576. Sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yadata vidyad vivridham sattvamitchuta sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yadata vidyad vividham sattvamitchuta sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yadata vidyad vividham sattvamitchuta sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yadata vidyad vividham sattvamitchuta sarvadvareshu dehesmin prakasha upajayate jnanam yadata vidyad vividham sattvamitchuta. Sarvadvareshu, in all the gates, dehe asmin, in this body, prakashaha, the quality of illumination. Upajayate, develops, jnanam, knowledge, yada, when, tada, at that time, vidyat, no, vivridham, increased, sattvam, the mode of goodness, iti uta, thus it is said. Translation. The manifestation of the mode of goodness can be experienced when all the gates of the body are illuminated by knowledge. Purport. There are 9 gates in the body: 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, the mouth, the genitals, and the anus. When every gate is illuminated by the symptoms of goodness, it should be understood that one has developed the mode of goodness. In the mode of goodness, one can see things in the right position, one can hear things in the right position, and one can taste things in the right position. One becomes cleansed inside and outside. In every gate there is development of the symptoms of happiness, and that is the position of goodness. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnanandana Shalakya Chakshu Unmilatam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, but my spiritual master Srila Prabhupada opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my humble obeisance unto him and all members of Sri Parampara. So, how do the eyes, ears, nostrils, and the other gates show their illumination? I think the first thing is that they're healthy. They're in the right order. Everything is happening. They're not being damaged by activities in the mode of passion and ignorance. For instance, classic passion and ignorance is eating too much and eating the wrong kind of foods, eating, very unhealthy foods, maybe very tasty. In this day and age, the powers that be, the capitalists, they have developed the fine art of engineering food that tastes very good. It has a certain mouthfeel. It's addictive. And there's you may know there's a epidemic, not only of coronavirus but also of obesity and all kinds of diseases that are caused by unhealthy foods, because people are they're not thinking a balanced diet and so forth. So the result of the mode of passion will be that these different elements of the body will be unhealthy. And when you're living a balanced life, and also there's this element of mind and matter, mind and body work together. They determine, you may know, that by too much anxiety, depression, that affects the physical health as well. You become more prone to diseases like cancer even. So what mode you're in is going to affect everything. What you like to eat, what you like, music you like to hear, the people you like to hang out with, whether you sleep too much, all this will become clear. So this is one of the symptoms when you see someone who's clear and calm and their body is in balance. This is a sign of the mode of goodness. Okay, text 12. Lobha pravittir arambha Karmanam shamakspiha Vajasyetani jayante Vivridhe bharatarshaba. O chief of the Bharatas, when there is an increase in the mode of passion, the symptoms of great attachment, fruitive activity, intense endeavor, and uncontrollable desire and hankering develop. Purport: one in the mode of passion is never satisfied with the position he has already acquired. He hankers to increase his position. If he wants to construct a residential house, he tries his best to have a palatial house, as if he would be able to reside in that house eternally. And he develops a great hankering for sense gratification. There is no end to sense gratification. He always wants to remain with his family and in his house and to continue the process of sense gratification. There is no cessation of this. All these symptoms should be understood as characteristic of the mode of passion. So this is a classic description of the type A personality, who's like a go-getter, you know. He tries to go to Wall Street, you know, to graduate from MIT or something, and go to Wall Street, work 80 hours a week, you know, to try to get in the inside and to make millions of dollars. And the lifestyles are, you know, usually characterized by extreme sense gratification, you know, illicit sex and drugs and wild parties and so many different things like that. The indulging in acts of kama or lust also increases lobha, is that you become more and more greedy, even for things you can't immediately consume, just to have many things. That in itself is a status symbol, is a way of a certain kind of sense gratification. It's a very entangling life, and Krishna describes some of that in the 16th chapter, the characteristics of the demons. Just like the name Hiranyakashipu, you know what that means? Yeah. One who was after gold and soft bedding, and Prabhupada adds in one lecture I heard, and bed companion. So that's part of it. So this is the classic mode of passion, and it's very destructive. As Krishna says at the end of the 3rd chapter, this indulgence and allowing your material desires to overwhelm your intelligence, it covers your real knowledge. And even if you know, or it's just, you know, that you're maybe destroying your life, you can't stop it. It's kind of like an addiction. You're very much impelled to act in the mode of passion. And that can also easily sink into the mode of ignorance as well. So it's good to know these symptoms, as Prabhupada would call them, characteristics, so we can recognize the qualities in others and also recognize tendencies in ourselves that we want to curb. And one thing that as Prabhupada mentions here, there's never any satiation. You know, there's always a dissatisfaction. Even if you just made a killing in the market, you made $10 million. All right, now I can turn it into $100 million. You know, there's always this plan to increase. And so there's no real peace there. Lord Chaitanya describes that to Sanatana Goswami. Who can really attain peace in this world? Krishna talks about it quite extensively in the 2nd chapter. So Lord Chaitanya says, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Shanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhi Kami Asakali Ashanta. So there's kind of like 4 main divisions of human beings. There's the ordinary, what we call karmi, or fruitive worker, which are the vast majority. There are those who are working for liberation. They realize that it's a fool's game, that you're just going to get birth and death, so they know about eternal life. So they want liberation. And that's commonly called the mukti kamis. It's a kind of lust. It's a material desire to just, I want to get free of misery and let everyone else go to hell. And the other ones are the siddhi kamis, the yogis who develop these powers. You can imagine if you can, practical way of getting the power where you can get anything you want, you can control people's minds, you can get smaller than the smallest, you can go astral traveling. You know, if you didn't know about Krishna, that would sound very attractive. I mean, I know some people back in the day that I started practicing yoga were thinking they're going to get those cities. Of course, it takes years and it's tremendously difficult, but it is possible. So he says those 3 categories: bhukti, mukti, siddhi, kami, sakali, ashanta, because they're different aspects of kamis, of different lusty categories. But the devotees don't want anything, in that category. Krishna Bhakta Nishkama. then there's a type of work called naishkarmya, which means you may be working very hard, but you're not working at a personal desire. You're working for Krishna. And so that doesn't bind you. In fact, it disentangles you from your previous karma. That's a way of not getting new karma and getting rid of your old karma. So it's the secret of work. Krishna talks about the art of all work. I think it's in the second chapter. Is to find out through the channel of authorized authorities, description and so forth, how we can connect with Krishna in an authorized way. We'll know that he's pleased by that. And you work in that way, you can actually become peaceful, even though you seem to be working very hard, going here and there. But your mind and your heart are peaceful because you're situated in bhakti. So that's the modes of nature are exactly against that. And the most damaging is the mode of ignorance. Aprakasho, question?
So it's Naishkarmya. So is that the same as Krishna karma? That there's somewhere in one purport it probably mentions Krishna karma. Is that the same thing?
Well, Naishkarmya is not activity. It's a description of someone who's acting without any fruit of desire. It's a state of being. It's not the activity itself. But yeah, they're all related. In other words, Krishna karma, if one is simply doing Krishna's work, then you're in a state of naishkarmya. You're working, but you're not getting any result. There's no karma, so-called good or bad. It's just a karma. Like Krishna says in the 4th chapter, one should know what karma is, what akarma is, and what vikarma is. It's mysterious. So vikarma is vicious work, against the rules of the Vedas and selfish, and that leads to degradation. Ordinary karma in this context means activities according to the rules of the Vedas, like the karma kanda section of the Vedas, where you're very controlled and you perform sacrifices and all these things for elevation, either in next life here or on higher planets. That's karma. And our karma, which is what we strive for, is it puts you in the state of naishkarmya, is activity that has no material motivation. It's simply, what is the motive? The motive is to please Krishna. And you may recall that's the definition of bhakti at the beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karma janavatam anukulena krishnanushilanam bhaktir uttama. That he defines what it isn't first. Anya abhilashita shunyam, devoid of any other desire, such as jnana karma, and adi. So jnana means desire for mukti, and karma means ordinary fruit of desire to enjoy. And adi means anything else, could be siddhi, kami, whatever. All of those, you're not working for that. Then what are you working for? Anukulyena krishnanushilanam. You're doing things that consciously doing favorable to please Krishna. Not just that you happen to be thinking of Krishna, or you can even be an enemy of Krishna. Kamsa was always thinking of Krishna, but it's not bhakti, because he was an arch enemy, although it was auspicious for him in one sense, but that's not what we're looking for. So these are all related, and this is why, freeing ourselves from the grip of the modes of nature is so important. Now, bhakti automatically does that, but there are certain things that are, like keeping clean and, rules and regulations, not overeating, that will help you stay in the mode of goodness and are very favorable for, furthering bhakti. That's important.
So can naishkarmya, is that exclusively used for devotees, or can naishkarmya be used for or refer to people who aren't even theistic? Just like, because in India people talk about, I work, but not for myself. I mean, it's bogus, but is there any possibility?
That's a great question, because there's a verse that deals directly with that and answers the question. And it starts out with the word naishkarmya. Naishkarmya mapyat chutabhava varjanam nashobade jnanam alang niranjanam. That's the first half of the verse. That naishkarmya, not fruit of work, which is devoid of bhava for achyuta, in other words, which is devoid of Krishna consciousness, doesn't look very good. It says nashobade, doesn't look so hot. What to speak of ordinary karma, work that's not offered to Krishna. That's in Narada's instruction to Vyasadeva. Now, why would he include that verse? Because he wrote a whole bunch of stuff, the Karma Kanda, that was exactly that. Okay. So, we are in the mode of ignorance. Did we do the mode of ignorance? I don't think we did. Text 13. Aprakasho pravittischa pramado moha evacha Tamasyetani jayante vivridhe kurunandana. When there is an increase in the mode of ignorance, O son of Kuru, darkness, inertia, madness, and illusion are manifested. Purport. When there is no illumination, knowledge is absent. One in the mode of ignorance does not work by a regulative principle. He wants to act whimsically for no purpose. Even though he has the capacity to work, he makes no endeavor. This is called illusion. Although consciousness is going on, life is inactive. These are the symptoms of one in the mode of ignorance. So, I remember, in my youth, I was mostly in the mode of passion, I think. But I definitely fell often into the mode of ignorance. Just sleeping in, especially on the weekend, and drugs. I mean, not really heavy, luckily, but, that really pulls down the shade on your consciousness. And just, losing ambition for any positive thing, for a short time, and then maybe a weekend or something, and then back to work, So the modes as described earlier, I think, you came to that verse, that sometimes the mode of goodness is predominant, sometimes the mode of passion, sometimes the mode of ignorance. So it's really it's a risky business to just stay in the modes without a program for getting out of them. Because the modes of nature, it's described in the previous chapter, Purusha prakatisto hi bhunkte prakati janganan karanam guna sangosya sadasadyoni janmasu. That the living entity in material life is within Prakriti, which is constituted of the modes. Prakatisto hi bhunkte prakati janganan. And he's experiencing the modes of nature that are generated from that material energy. And how we associate with those modes determines our destiny, whether you get born in a higher birth, lower birth, or the same kind of birth. So people have no idea, but we know that. And so this is where our attention and our vigilance in progressive Krishna consciousness is. Don't do those things that are going to drag you into the different modes. Stay in the mode of goodness, and so that you can consciously do those things that are furthering your Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, it's like a drag. It's like I for years, when the Sunday feast came along, it was impossible. I couldn't control myself. I'd eat as much as I could, and I would lie back in the bunk eventually, and I would vow, never again. And it was never again until next Sunday. It's like that's the way it was. So, but Prabhupada knew where we were at, and he provided all this tasty food, so there would be an outlet. It's celibacy and all these things, and if you're following, there's a pressure that builds up for some kind of sense gratification. Oftentimes, it's taken out on Sunday feast. So, but at a certain point, I kind of got over that, and I was fulfilled in my service, and it was a different style of life. But still, when Krishna consciousness, there was much more physical thing. It was a lot of chanting and dancing, and that was kind of the outlet. So it was a fight between all of the halwa I was eating and my desire to dance for 3 hours straight on Harinam, which I try to do. But anyway, there are various strategies to keep us enlivened in devotional service, even if we can't ditch all the modes that we're in. But we should, at a certain point, come. The faster you can come to the point of equilibrium, the more quickly you'll advance. Okay, these are short purpose. Let's go on. Yada sattve pravidhetu pralayam yati dehabrit tadottama vadam lokan amalan patipadyate. When one dies in the mode of goodness, he attains to the pure higher planets of the great sages. Purport. One in goodness attains higher planetary systems like Brahmaloka or Janaloka, and there enjoys godly happiness. The word amalan is significant. It means free from the modes of passion and ignorance. There are impurities in the material world, but the mode of goodness is the purest form of existence in the material world. There are different kinds of planets for different kinds of living entities. Those who die in the mode of goodness are elevated to the planets where great sages and great devotees live. So, we don't hear in Krishna consciousness so much that let's work at being in the mode of goodness. Let's work at being Krishna conscious, which takes that in and brings you, beyond the mode of goodness. And so, for us, it's almost like you got to go for broke. If you get too much into like the material end of like staying in the mode of goodness and avoiding the mode of passion, that's not going to work because we're surrounded by the mode of passion and ignorance. Within these four walls, there's all of these channels and subtle things going on. We're not tuning in with the TVs and the thing like it, but everywhere the mode of passion and ignorance is very prominent. And so unless we practice intense devotional service, we're sure to be overwhelmed, dragged away. As soon as we get drawn out of the association of devotees in the regulation, it's very difficult to withstand the powerful forces of Kali. So for us, it's like we have to aim, for the mode of pure goodness, and along the way, we'll be able to maintain the goodness. So that's what's going on here. And then, if you die, what mode you've cultivated, that indicates your consciousness, so that's going to be your destiny. So what happens to those in the mode of passion? Rajasi palayam gatva karma sangisha jayate tata palinas tamasi mudha yonisha jayate. When one dies in the mode of passion, he takes birth among those engaged in fruitive activities. And when one dies in the mode of ignorance, he takes birth in the animal kingdom. Purport: some people have the impression that when the soul reaches the platform of human life, it never goes down again. This is incorrect. According to this verse, if one develops the mode of ignorance, after his death he is degraded to an animal form of life. From there one has to again elevate himself by an evolutionary process to come again to the human form of life. Therefore, those who are actually serious about human life should take to the mode of goodness and in good association transcend the modes and become situated in Krishna consciousness. This is the aim of human life. Otherwise, there is no guarantee that the human being will again attain to the human status. So this is a very, serious point of our philosophy, is that human life is a rare gift. There's 8,400,000 species. There are 400,000 human species. The species, as mentioned in the Vedic literature, is not exactly what you find in the modern biology books. But there are numerous varieties of human life. We see that. There are some very crude and elementary and kind of not too far above animal life. And there are some that are very advanced and materially. But all in all, the human life is meant for self-realization, and this is, who knows that these days? People who's even asking that question? A very small percentage of people. But if you understand that, then everything changes. Then everything you do has a certain effect. And if you're conscious of that, the foods you eat, the music you listen to, etc., the people you hang out with, then you make a choice. And after all, our lives are simply daily making so many choices to do this and not that, do this and not that. And so when you have the knowledge, the criteria that has been given from pure sources of knowledge like the Bhagavad Gita as it is, and those who are living it, then that's the key question in your life. Am I going to follow this? Or am I going to follow this? Am I going to just go with the modes, go with the flow, or am I going to actually try to elevate myself? So this is very sobering, and there's many statements like this in the Vedic literature that it's kind of a crossroads. It's a junction in human life. We can go down. In fact, there's been a human devolution. Did you ever see that book? There's a book by Dravida Dasa called Human Devolution. And human life is kind of a junction. And you can go up or you can go down. You can stay the same, but you can decide. You're higher intelligence, you can decide which way. As I probably love to quote, Labdvasa durlama vidambahu sambhavante manusham artadamanityam abhiya dhira. That's where dhira comes in right at the beginning of the Gita with Dehino Smith. One has to be sober-minded. And if you understand, then turnam yateta napateta namityavad nikshaya saya bishaya kalusarva taksyat. So in this verse, I think it's in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying that you've attained this human form of life after many, many births. Sudurlabham, very difficult to attain, rare to attain. Bahusambhavante, many, many births. Manusham, the human life. Artadam, it alone can give you the real goal of life. Dogs and cats and bears and snakes, they have no idea. But like all forms, anityam, it's temporary. So one has to be dhira and really consider things from a philosophical point of view with these criteria. And having understood, turnam yateta, strive without wasting any time. Don't waste any time because life is very flickering. You don't know when it's going to end. Napateta namrityaya, but as long as you're still alive and you haven't fallen down dead, strive for the nikshayasa, the ultimate good, which is breaking free of the bonds of birth and death and returning to our eternal home in the spiritual world where we came from. Vishayakala sarpataksa, because all those other lives that you've been through, who knows how many cycles you've been through, you've experienced all varieties of sense gratification. And look what it's gotten you. Another birth, another death. In other words, it's Maya's great trick to try to convince you that there's happiness here. And it makes sense that this is because our natural situation is ananda maya abhyasat, Krishna's, and we're full of ananda. And that means that every moment, not ending. There's no time in the spiritual world. There's no past, no future, only the present. So we're striving to get back to that point of enjoying it every moment. But we're doing it in this context of temporality with these imperfect senses and in the modes of nature. So we're constantly frustrated. So that impetus for sense gratification, which is never satisfied, because we can never experience what we experience in the spiritual world here. That should tell us in the context with this knowledge. Oh, okay, I have to redirect that energy, that pleasure energy, toward Krishna, and I'll get back to the point where I can enjoy unending happiness. There's two verses that come to mind in that regard. One is famous one by Rishabdev, the first verse in the 5th chapter of the 5th canto. Lord Rishabdev speaking to his 100 exalted sons, headed by Bharat. The 9 Yogendras are there. They'll take sannyas right afterward. And all kinds of other sages and devas have come down to listen because he's about to retire. So the first thing he says, he's speaking to his sons. So he gives them the chastisement. You know the verse. Nayam deho deha bhajang loke kashtan kamanadate vidbhujanye tapo divyam puttakayena sattvam shuddye jisma brahmasaukyam tonantam. So I kind of put it into, I didn't exactly cover all the points in the verse, but I get the mood. Don't waste this precious human life, dear friend, by working hard for hoggish happiness. Through bhakti yoga, worldly life transcend and learn to taste divine love's endless bliss. So this is our choice. Are we going to go for the flickering sense gratification, titillation of this world, which is so frustrating and ultimately leads to utter depression because your body wears out, you can't enjoy anymore, and you're suffering the results of your, spent youth. So that must be very frustrating. Or are we going to take Rishabdev's instruction and practice divine austerities? Getting up early in the morning, taking a cold shower. Oh my God. In other words, for us, these are great austerities. But there are austerities, both positive and negative, giving up things we want and taking on things we don't want. But the result is, is beyond anything you can matter. It means coming to the point of enjoying Brahma Sukha, spiritual happiness, which is anantam, endless. This is the endless happiness and pleasure we're looking for. You can't find it through the senses because the senses are fallible. The very same senses you enjoy with become sources of pain. So that's how we should strive. Okay, let's see what it says here. 16. Karmana sukatasyahu satvikam nirmalam palam vajasastupalam dukkam agyanam tamasak palam. So this is the different results of activity in the different modes. The result of pious action is pure and is said to be in the mode of goodness. But action done in the mode of passion results in misery, and action performed in the mode of ignorance results in foolishness. Purport. The result of pious activities in the mode of goodness is pure. Therefore, the sages who are free from illusion are situated in happiness. But activities in the mode of passion are simply miserable. Any activity for material happiness is bound to be defeated. If, for example, one wants to have a skyscraper, so much human misery has to be undergone before a big skyscraper can be built. The financier has to take much trouble to earn a massive wealth, and those who are slaving to construct the building have to render physical toil. The miseries are there. Thus, the Bhagavad Gita says that in any activity performed under the spell of the mode of passion, there is definitely great misery. There may be a little so-called mental happiness. I have the house or this money. I have this house or this money. But this is not actual happiness. As far as the mode of ignorance is concerned, the performer is without knowledge, and therefore all his activities result in present misery, and afterwards he will go on toward animal life. Animal life is always miserable. Although under the spell of the illusory energy, Maya, the animals do not understand this. Slaughtering poor animals is also due to the mode of ignorance. The animal killers do not know that in the future the animal will have a body suitable to kill them. That is the law of nature. In human society, if one kills a man, he has to be hanged. That is the law of the state. Because of ignorance, people do not perceive that there is a complete state controlled by the Supreme Lord. Every living creature is a son of the Supreme Lord, and he does not tolerate even an ant's being killed. One has to pay for it. So indulgence in animal killing for the taste of the tongue is the grossest kind of ignorance. A human being has no need to kill animals because God has supplied so many nice things. If one indulges in meat eating anyway, it is to be understood that he is acting in ignorance and is making his future very dark. Of all kinds of animal killing, the killing of cows is most vicious because the cow gives us all kinds of pleasure by supplying milk. Cow slaughter is an act of the grossest type of ignorance. In the Vedic literature, Rig Veda 9:46-4, the words Gobi Prinita Matsaram indicate that one who, being fully satisfied by milk, is desirous of killing the cow, is in the grossest ignorance. There is also a prayer in the Vedic literature that states, Namo Brahmanya Devaya Go Brahmana Hitaya Cha Jagaditaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. My Lord, you are the well-wisher of the cows and the Brahmins, and you are the well-wisher of the entire human society and world. Vishnu Purana 1:1965. The purport is that special mention is given in that prayer for the protection of the cows and the Brahmins. Brahmins are the symbol of spiritual education, and cows are the symbol of the most valuable food. These two living creatures, the Brahmins and the cows, must be given all protection. That is real advancement of civilization. In modern human society, spiritual knowledge is neglected and cow killing is encouraged. It is to be understood, then, that human society is advancing in the wrong direction and is clearing the path to its own condemnation. A civilization which guides the citizens to become animals in their next lives is certainly not a human civilization. The present human civilization is, of course, grossly misled by the modes of passion and ignorance. It is a very dangerous age, and all nations should take care to provide the easiest process, Krishna consciousness, to save humanity from the greatest danger. And one of those dangers we're just experiencing now. I mean, even people who have no idea what the Bhagavad Gita is talking about, they've traced this pandemic virus largely to rampant meat eating and the encroachment of more and more on the wild animals and the mixing and all this stuff. And it's a big cause of it. Shivaram Swami has one of these little clips he's been putting up. One of them has to do with it. So, nature always wins. Karma is infallible. In fact, we put a book out once called The Laws of Nature and Infallible Justice. And so this is, a big aspect of Krishna consciousness is fighting against this rampant meat eating. People don't, this is, talk of the mode of ignorance. They have no idea. I mean, I remember when before I was exposed at all to this kind of knowledge, it was just second nature. I didn't even think that this meat is coming from a living being that has feelings and things like that. It's just not in, it's like, where does the meat come from? The supermarket. Isn't that where it comes? I mean, it's like, it's super ignorant, but that's what people think. So being aware of the implications of your activities, is part of Krishna consciousness. That's why, we're careful when bugs get in here, we take care of them, send them out. And if they happen to die under the foot of a devotee, well, that's an auspicious birth, but it's something we try to avoid if possible. This kind of vigilance in, the results of your activities is part of what Krishna consciousness is. Understanding that whatever you do, it either has a bad or a good effect. It either takes you closer to Krishna or farther away from Krishna. And so choosing, the right thing to do and actually doing it, even though it may be a little inconvenient, is like building up your spiritual muscles. Because Krishna, he wants to see how serious we are at every level. That's why when you first come, usually there's a big lift, because suddenly you've taken a serious step, and Krishna, gives you an encouragement from within the heart. And I remember that's the way it was with me. I think it was the first day they actually moved into the ashram. In those days, there was such a push for people who wanted to join the ashram that there was a halfway house, and you had to actually qualify, do various things. You couldn't wear a dhoti until you were, So I remember, okay, I qualified, now I'm in the temple, I could shave my head, wear a dhoti. And I was taking out the trash, chanting Hare Krishna. And my bhakta leader, it was also the what we used to call temple commander, He says, he was also a bhakta. He initiated shortly after. Bhakta Ben told me, Tom, I think you're going to make it, because he saw how happy I was doing this, menial service. I just wanted to be in a place where the more you chanted Hare Krishna, the more they liked you. By that time, it wasn't some yoga studio where you had to stop chanting and start doing something else. Enough with that. So I was in bliss. Okay, any discussion on these points? This was a fairly substantial purport here. All right, let's do one more. Then maybe we'll have some poetry reading. Okay, check 17. Sattvat sanjayate jnanam rajaso lobha evacha pramadamoha tamaso bhavato jnanam evacha. From the mode of goodness, real knowledge develops. From the mode of passion, greed develops. And from the mode of ignorance, develop foolishness, madness, and illusion. Purport. Since the present civilization is not very congenial to the living entities, Krishna consciousness is recommended. Through Krishna consciousness, society will develop the mode of goodness. When the mode of goodness is developed, people will see things as they are. In the mode of ignorance, people are just like animals and cannot see things clearly. In the mode of ignorance, for example, they do not see that by killing one animal, they are taking the chance of being killed by the same animal in the next life. Because people have no education in actual knowledge, they become irresponsible. To stop this irresponsibility, education for developing the mode of goodness of the people in general must be there. When they are actually educated in the mode of goodness, they will become sober, in full knowledge of things as they are. Then people will be happy and prosperous. Even if the majority of the people aren't happy and prosperous, if a certain percentage of the population develops Krishna consciousness and becomes situated in the mode of goodness, then there is the possibility for peace and prosperity all over the world. Otherwise, if the world is devoted to the modes of passion and ignorance, there can be no peace or prosperity. In the mode of passion, people become greedy, and their hankering for sense enjoyment has no limit. One can see that even if one has enough money and adequate arrangements for sense gratification, there is neither happiness nor peace of mind. That is not possible, because one is situated in the mode of passion. If one wants happiness at all, his money will not help him. He has to elevate himself to the mode of goodness by practicing Krishna consciousness. When one is engaged in the mode of passion, not only is he mentally unhappy, but his profession and occupation are also very troublesome. He has to devise so many plans and schemes to acquire enough money to maintain his status quo. This is all miserable. In the mode of ignorance, people become mad. Being distressed by their circumstances, they take shelter of intoxication, and thus they sink further into ignorance. Their future in life is very dark. So you can see these things being played out in the world today. And like just think of the climate change thing, you know. I mean, this has been quite clear for some time. I remember reading this 30 years ago when I came here. It was an article. It was developed in the 80s, but I got here at the end of the 80s. And there was this indication how, you know, this carbon dioxide is building up barrier and keeping the heat and projecting the increase of the temperature. And it's quite clear now, you know, to anyone who really wants to investigate, this is what's going on. I mean, the Arctic is melting. Now the Antarctic is melting. That's big time, you know, and there is all this danger. So, but still, people are like, you know, the people who have all the money, control the oil companies and all these things, they're kind of barreling ahead. You know, they have these meetings and they have these principles, but nobody really can do anything because they're riding. What has to happen really is they have to consume less. They have to leave the oil in the ground. They have to live more simply. You know, to think that you can have it all, but just change the way that energy we use is illusory. There has to be a revolution in the lifestyle of people, in the consciousness of people. But it's like, you know, I still see people smoke. You know, there's one lady lives downstairs from me, and obviously the guy she's living with doesn't want her to smoke, so she always walk outside to smoke. You know, sometimes I see her. She said something to me. She didn't say harekrishna. You know, how you doing? And she has some accent. She's like foreign or something. But that's a perfect example of, you know, the mode of ignorance taking over, where you get involved with some intoxicant, and it's so strong that it covers your intelligence, and you're doing things against your own will. It's just what Arjuna asked at the end of the third chapter. So we don't want to get into that mood. We want to recognize that we may have been in that, but Krishna consciousness can help us break that you know, enslavement to things that are we know are bad for us. And so that's why you know, it's a Tivrena Bhakti Yogena. There's several verses. It has to be intense. It can't just be lackadaisical. You know, you have to really put your heart and your mind into it for the process to really work. And it obviously works. There's, you know, thousands and thousands of devotees who have transformed their lives and could tell stories of, you know, where they were. I mean, I was in a fairly dark place, you know. In the latter 60s, early 70s. Luckily, I never got heavy into drugs, which can just ruin your life forever, you know. I mean, you're actually damaging your brain, you know, so it doesn't function. But it was until I got into, you know, first Hatha yoga, and which included a vegetarian diet, which in itself is a very, you know, mode of goodness, helps get in the mode of goodness. I was like, you know, definitely headed. I wouldn't be alive right now if I hadn't got, you know, get the Krishna consciousness. So we need to become determined to you know, let the process work and uplift us, and give it to others. That's a big part of how Krishna, you know, Krishna reciprocates greatly when you do preach and you give it to others. Give this a chance. And as Prabhupada says in every purport here, it's an emergency. It's really an emergency situation in this world. People are, you know, now we see, you know, all of a sudden this darkness has come, this pandemic all over the world, economy is falling apart. You know, where can people find solace and a sense of stability, you know? It's got to be within their own heart. They have to contact Krishna, and which who you can access at any time. You know, the process of enjoying is always with you. You know, we have the secret, the chanting of the holy name. If you really learn to appreciate it, it can become a source of great joy in and of itself. And our greatest devotees, you know, like the Goswamis, they have nothing. It's just the opposite of, you know, accumulating wealth and all these things, even to the point of not even having a house, you know. But still, I love this verse, Chakvatuna Mashesha Mandala Batishe Ningsada Tuchavat. You know, this one in the Goswamashtika is very important. And this one is the fourth verse. They quickly, this is Rupa and Sanatana and Raghunath especially, they had tremendous wealth, you know, and power. Chaktva Turna Mashesha Mandalapati Shading Sadatuchabat. So Mandalapati means a great circle of aristocracy and wealth. That was at their fingertips if they wanted it. Rupa and Sanatana already had it. Raghunath Das was going to inherit it. But what did they do? Chaktva Turnam, they quickly, without hesitating, they gave it all up as tuchabat, as insignificant. And what happened? Bhutva Dina Ganeshako, in order to help people in general, the Dinas, the wretched of the earth, by doing what they did, preaching, writing books, building temples. Ganeshako, Karunaya, out of their mercy, they gave it all up, and Kopina Kantashvito, they put on rejected clothes and wandered in Vrindavan, But of course they wrote books and everything. But what was their state of mind? They gave up the greatest sense gratification available at the time. They could have kept doing it. They already experienced it. So, a gopi bhavara samatabdal hari kallola magnomo. Again and again they were diving and drinking the nectar of the ocean, of the waves of the ocean of the gopi bhava, of highest levels of prema bhakti. So they proved, and many others in our line have proved, live simply, and simple living, high thinking. The highest thinking is pure Krishna consciousness, and it gives happiness at every moment, and it's most inexpensive. It doesn't take any. It's not something you have to buy. It's something you can experience inside, and that can be a foundation of a simple society in the mode of goodness, living in because you're not always wondering about where am I going to get this, where am I going to, how am I going to buy that. It's a perfect illustration of coming up to the mode of goodness and then mode of pure goodness. That's what Krishna consciousness is. All right, we have time for one poem. Let's see. Balaram is thinking we should start a whole program. Did he tell you? Where Tapas will set up a little, the phone, and we'll have maybe tomorrow we'll do it. All right, so we ended with 17, right? I think, did we read 17? Yes. Okay, 18 tomorrow. So, we did one poem, something sweet. Bhujanga Rupachandraka, Spuradakunda Chudankure, Nirankasha, Duganchala, Brahmina Buddha Bringa Brahme, Patanga to Hitustati, Vanakuti, the Keri, Pa, Padaspudutube, Mohus, Svayamukunda Shuddharati. Now, those last words, Shuddha Rati, pure love for Krishna. This is what he's praying for. So he's meditating on Krishna in his heart, or the deity or whatever. You wear the best of crests, a crown of perfect peacock plumes. Your dancing glances stun the bees meandering amidst the blooms. You relish love play in a cottage by Kalindi's shore. O Krishna, may pure love for you be mine forevermore. Kalindi is the daughter of Mount Kalinda. Yes. And the other, the father, I think, is the son god. Brother, a sister of Yamaraj. Yeah. Huh? I never thought of that. You're right. There's a similarity in names. All right. We'll start with 18 next tomorrow. What did he say? You're welcome, Tapas. Now, how did I manage to lose my bookmark?
Jitendra Mishra says, Jai Radhe Krishna, and Tapas Prabhu says, Hare Krishna Dhanavad Pranam. Thank you, Dravida Prabhu, for your wonderful Gita class.
You're certainly welcome. Hope to see you in person someday. Just kidding. We see you all the time. All right, get ready for Radha, get it, Hari. Can you take charge of this and put it away? Thanks, Prabhu.